Do you think that a misunderstanding between Christian female voters and what it truly means to be empathetic could possibly sway the election?
Absolutely. I think that toxic empathy is the primary tool that progressives use to manipulate women into being on the left. That's basically all it is. Not to say that those women are not smart, that they never critically think. I'm not trying to condemn them as dumb, but because women are naturally compassionate, we're naturally feelers, and not all emotions are bad. Because we have this natural caretaking instinct, even this mothering instinct, whether or not you're a biological mother, when we are presented with a victim, whether it's by the media, whether it's entertainment, whether it's by these politicians, our instinct is to take care of them. Our instinct is to defend them, to advocate for them. I think that a huge portion of the social justice movement is misplaced mothering, women channeling their natural mothering instincts into social justice causes, thinking that they are defending the illegal or undocumented migrant. They are defending the marginalized person that's been a victim of systemic racism. They are defending the woman who has to have an abortion because of her unfortunate circumstances. They're even defending the trans child who was born in the wrong body. Because of that, they not only feel very strongly about their causes, but they are convinced that their causes are righteous. It's almost a spiritual mission for a lot of women.
To play devil's advocate, are you saying that it is a sin to be empathetic to people who are different than you?
I'm saying that empathy is a poor leader. I was talking with Abigail Schreier, who wrote Bad Therapy. I know you've talked to Abigail, and we were talking about empathy because it's something that she writes about in her book. And actually, she's harsher about empathy even than I am in my book, but she kind of pushed me in her direction. Through her research, she found that the more you encourage empathy in kids, actually the meaner they can be, the nastier they can be, the more exclusive they can be. Because the thing about empathy is, if I put myself in your shoes, I'm firmly in your shoes, I can see Alex Clark's position. I know your perspective. I feel what you feel. That means anyone who is opposed to you, who disagrees with you, is now my enemy. That person has become an oppressor because they are opposed to Alex Clark. They don't just disagree with you. Because I am you, I have your feelings. Now that person, the person that you think opposes you, that person now opposes me too. And so you are no longer able to see objective reality or morality. You can only see what the person feels that you have decided is the victim. And so it's not always bad to feel what someone feels. I start the book with feeling empathy for this mom lugging her toddler and all of her stuff through the airport. Because,
wasn't that you?
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's not me, but I had been there.
Yes.
And before I had been there, I might not have noticed her. Or you hear the crying baby on the airplane. And because, I was a single woman, I'm thinking, gosh, that's such a distraction to me. That's annoying to me. But after I have kids and now I understand, gosh, no one wants that baby to stop crying more than that mom. My instinct is now, how can I help? Not, gosh, how is that bothering me? And so empathy is not always bad. Feeling how someone feels, putting yourself in someone's position can be very good. The question is, what does it lead you to? Does it lead you to compassion, to serving them, to helping? Or does it lead you to affirm their sinful choice? Does it lead you to lie? Does it lead you to support policies that are ultimately destructive? And I think what Abigail Schreier would say, because I kind of went back and forth with her on that, like, isn't it good sometimes? She would say that, no, you really should be teaching people, and we all should be embodying ourselves, not empathy, but virtue. Because, see, I could have had compassion for that struggling mom before I had kids. It wasn't a requirement that I had to go through motherhood myself to have compassion for her and help her, because you can be a selfless, compassionate person without having gone through something that another person has gone through. And so it's actually more important to teach ourselves and our kids the virtue of selflessness and compassion, but also wisdom, impartiality, all of those things that go into being an objective, critically thinking, responsible person more than it's important to teach them empathy, because our feelings can really blind us to what's good, right, and true.
Why is it the American church seems to have become like the biggest sitting duck for progressive leftists on this? Like, why are they setting their sights on, you know what, it's the church who's really going to listen and be susceptible to this kind of manipulation?
Yeah, that's a great question, because Christians are led by love. And that's what makes Jesus different, is that he has claimed dominion. He has created this kingdom, this people, these evangelistic followers, not through force, not through manipulation, but through love. Like when we look at the devastation of the hurricanes that have ripped through a huge part of the United States, we've seen a dereliction of duty by the government. And in that vacuum, we've seen a fearless church. We've seen a church step up, have compassion, do the right thing, meet the needs of the most vulnerable, what the church has been doing really well for the past 2,000 years. Christians are rightly compelled to love. We are supposed to create a refuge for the most vulnerable. We are supposed to meet these material needs. We are supposed to see the undignified, the ones on the margins of society, those that society sees as unclean or less than or subhuman. We're supposed to take care of those people. But there is a difference between love and empathy. Empathy feels how someone feels. That can only get you so far. It can lead you to lies. It can maybe lead you towards virtue, but it is not love in itself, because love, according to the God who is love, is inextricably intertwined with the truth. Love never rejoices with evil, but rejoices with the truth. That's 1 Corinthians 13:6. Empathy, because it's about emotions, doesn't really care about what's true. It only cares about what someone feels. And I know we live in this culture that says all feelings are valid, but that's not true. Valid means rooted in truth, and all feelings may exist, but they're not all true. They're not all grounded in truth. And so that is the big problem with empathy, and especially toxic empathy that leads us to support the wrong causes. But love has to be rooted in truth for it to actually be biblical. And I think that's where the confusion lies within the church, the difference between true and the truth in love approach and this superficial empathy.
You talked about how women especially are vulnerable to this type of toxic empathy. But was there anything in particular that you found out about men? Like, is there any type of toxic empathy that gets men really easily?
I think anyone can be persuaded by toxic empathy, certainly. And in this age of convincing men that masculinity is toxic, that strength is toxic, that male leadership is toxic, trying to feminize men, like we see this, I think, really perfectly in Tim Walz. He's like the Phil Dunphy of politics. He's just this bumbling knucklehead. He's just so silly. He tells lies about where he's traveled, but it's fine because he's just sweet Tim Walz. Like, he is the picture of the sitcom dad that typifies the only masculinity that is acceptable nowadays. And so because a lot of men, I think, have been convinced that this feminized version of masculinity is the only one that's okay, I'm sure that there are men who have imbibed some of the doctrines of feminism and have said, well, you know, I've never been a woman. I can't control a woman's body because I don't know what it's like to be pregnant. Then I have to support a woman's right to choose, quote unquote, in order to be really loving or empathetic. And of course it affects men, because you're talking about churches being a hotbed of toxic empathy. Most churches are led by men.
So you know what I've seen on dating apps, guys, in order to appear friendlier to women, they are deliberately choosing moderate as their political view.
Oh yeah.
So instead of conservative.
I mean, I haven't seen that personally on dating apps.
You've heard about it?
I have heard about that from single friends.
So they're doing that, you know, I think to like kind of appeal. And then when a girl's like, okay, well, I'm super conservative, then he's like, okay, cool. Yeah, me too.
I don't know if that's toxic empathy as much as it's just what do the kids say? Riz. Maybe they're just trying to riz it up. Yeah. By lying about who they are. I mean, it's really crazy. Just the graphs that I've seen of conservative affiliation among men and liberal affiliation among women. I mean, they're going so far apart. It kind of makes me sad that the men are the ones who feel like they have to kind of compromise because women have imbibed this toxic empathy so much. Men are like, well, if I'm going to get married, I guess I got to bend a little bit.